portion, we learned the famous story of the spies, where God tells Moshe, tell the Jewish people, it's time to enter the land of Israel, the promised land. Moshe dispatches 12 spies to scout out the land of Israel. They come back. 2, Yeshua and Kalev, give a positive report, and the other 10 give a very negative report, saying that we have seen powerful armies, giants, fortified cities, and it is impossible to defeat them. It will be a suicide mission. And they went and they aroused the Jewish people against Moshe, and the Jewish people cried and said, we're not going into the land of Israel. God said, okay, you guys are not going in. For the next 40 years, they died in the desert, and only then the next generation entered the land of Israel. The question is, the Jewish people had just experienced the great miracles of God. God took us out of Egypt and split the Red Sea, giving us the man. So, obviously, God is even more powerful than the powerful armies. Why didn't they believe that if God tells us to go into the land of Israel, He will give us the strength to defeat them? And the answer is that for many people, the fear of failure is greater than the desire to succeed. When we face a very great task, but it seems to be very overwhelming and very difficult, we resign and we don't want to do it because there's too much risk involved and there's too much effort involved, and therefore we say, forget it, I won't do it. And by doing that, we give up a life of our dreams, a life of growth, a life of greatness, because we were unwilling to take the risk. The Talmud tells us that there are 2 things that is as difficult as splitting the Red Sea, and that is finding your spouse and livelihood. And the Rebbe once asked the question, why is it difficult for God to split the Red Sea? God created heaven and earth. It's very easy for God to split the Red Sea, and it's very easy for God to help us find our bashert, our spouse, and give us our livelihood. The Rebbe answered, obviously it's very easy for God, but it's very difficult for us to believe that we can achieve our goals. So when the Jewish people came out of Egypt and God told them, I want you to move forward to Mount Sinai, but there was a sea in front of them, and the Jewish people were scared to go into the sea, to drown. But there was one person, his name was Nachshon ben Aminadav, and he had the courage, and he jumped into the sea. And when he jumped into the sea and went beyond logic and beyond human limitation, this is when God split the Red Sea. And the lesson is that when we have our goals and our missions in our life, no matter how difficult it seems to be, if we take the risk and we do the first step in accomplishing our mission, so just like Nachshon ben Aminadav, when he jumped into the sea, all of a sudden the sea split. The same is true. When we do the first step and we overcome our fear, that in itself opens up the windows of blessings and opportunities, and we accomplish the impossible. Have a very good Shabbos.